Good morning, everybody, and welcome to the Built Heritage Committee meeting of July 14th, 2026. I'd like to call the members to order. This hybrid meeting is being facilitated through Zoom and is being held on the traditional territory of the Algonquin and Anishinaabe Nation, the original custodians of the unceded land in which the City of Ottawa is located. We extend our respect to all First Nations, Inuit, and Métis peoples for their valuable past and present contributions to this land. Since this committee meeting is being streamed live on the Ottawa City Council YouTube channel, I'd like to remind participants to please keep your microphones muted until I call upon you to speak. For those participating here in the committee room, please use the microphone in front of you and keep your computer muted. I will ask each committee member with the opportunity to ask questions or comment on each item in the order in which they raise their hand in Zoom. For panelists, the raise hand option is found at the bottom of the participants list. The committee coordinator and I will be watching for those cues. Members are also reminded to submit any motions, visual supports, or declarations of interest in writing to the coordinator at their earliest opportunity. Although the deadlines have passed for residents to register to speak and provide written submissions to this committee, the public can still make written submissions to council. If you have technical difficulties signing into the meeting, you can contact the committee coordinator. A reminder that if participants are having technical issues with their Zoom connection, they may call in using the backup telephone number provided by the coordinator. We did receive regrets today from Councillor Troster. Could the committee coordinator please call the roll?
Councillor Kelly.
Present.
Councillor Leeper.
Here.
Councillor Troster. Member Borns. Member Legault.
Present.
Member Madigan.
Present.
Member Quinn.
Present.
Vice-Présidente Plante.
Allô.
Chair King.
Here.
You have quorum, Chair.
Thank you so much. For this meeting, I do have a notice. This meeting will serve as the statutory public meeting for the Golden Triangle Heritage Conservation District for the purposes of Section 41.16B of the Ontario Heritage Act. Furthermore, there will be simultaneous interpretation for item 5.1, designation of 701 Montreal Road under Part 4 of the Ontario Heritage Act. Are there any declarations of interest? Seeing none, confirmation of minutes. Are the minutes for the Built Heritage meeting of June 9th confirmed? Confirmed. Thank you so much. So we will go through a consent agenda for this meeting. The first item is designation of the Golden Triangle Heritage Conservation District under Part 5 of the Ontario Heritage Act. This item was deferred from the meeting of June 9th, 2029. It will be held for presentations and delegations. The next item is designation of 701 Montreal Road under Part 4 of the Ontario Heritage Act. There is a presentation for this item and also registered delegations, so that item will be held. The next item is 5.2, application to demolish the accessory structure at 66 Bradford Street, a property designated under Part 4 of the Ontario Heritage Act. There is a presentation on this item only if it's required. We do have a registered speaker from a Fuller Group of companies, I believe, to speak on this item if that is required. I just wanted to check with Philip T-Bear whether if this item was to be approved by committee, whether there would be still a requirement to speak. And Mr. T-Bear is online, so we're just elevating to determine whether he needs to provide comment if this item would be approved by committee.
I have no comment for you today. I'm just here to answer any questions that may arise.
Thank you so much. Is there any interest in holding this item by members? Seeing none, Is this item carried? Carried. So this item will be submitted to council on July 15th, 2026. The next item is 5.3, post-demolition reconsideration of cultural heritage value of 5897 Fernbank Road, a property designated under Part 4 of the Ontario Heritage Act. We received no correspondence on this item, and there are currently no registered speakers. There's no presentation as well for this specific item. Is there interest amongst members to hold this item? Seeing none, is this report carried? Carried. Thank you so much. So this report will be submitted to council on August 26, 2026. And our final substantive item on the regular agenda is the Rideau Canal Cultural Landscape Study, Ottawa Reach. There is a presentation for this item as well as delegations, so we will hold. So now we will return to our first item, designation of the Golden Triangle Heritage Conservation District under Part 5 of the Ontario Heritage Act. There is a technical amendment to this item, which I will ask the Vice Chair to read in to the record.
Oh, thank you. Whereas the report ACS 2026, I'll read the rest. It recommends the adoption of the proposed Golden Triangle Heritage Conservation District Plan by bylaw under section 41.1 of the Ontario Heritage Act, as shown in document 5, and whereas technical errors were identified in Appendix B of document 5 related to the classification of 2 properties, and whereas vacant properties are considered non-contributing and not included in Appendix B, and staff wish to provide additional clarity related to these properties, therefore be it resolved that Appendix B be replaced with a revised version attached to this motion and on file with the city clerk that amends the status of 25 Gilmore Street to contributing, removes the property at 25 Cartier Street, and includes the following explanatory note. Properties without a building, i.e. vacant lot, parking lot, at the time of studied are classified as non-contributing and have been omitted from this table. This table is limited to properties that a building at the time of study, and be it further resolved that the report be submitted to council for consideration at this meeting of July 15th, 2026, pursuant to subsection 35(7) of the procedure bylaw. Merci. Thanks, Ralston.
Thank you so much, Vice Chair. That technical amendment will be considered along with the report. We can now proceed with a presentation from staff.
Thank you. Good morning, Chair King, Vice Chair Plant, and committee members. Today, my colleague Lauren Luchensky and I will be giving a brief presentation on staff's recommendation to designate the Golden Triangle as a Heritage Conservation District. Next slide. To offer some background, this project commenced after a council direction in 2024 to study and develop an HCD plan for the Golden Triangle. This is an area located in the eastern portion of Centertown. In 2025, the project really kicked off with the creation of a project page on Engage Ottawa and a public open house at City Hall. This was followed by a series of public engagement opportunities, which happened in tandem with our research, evaluation, and document preparation. Over the last year, we have completed the Ontario Heritage Act requirements for Part 5 designation, applied community feedback as appropriate, and are now here today recommending designation. Next slide. The local experience of the neighborhood is a vital part of understanding historic and cultural heritage values. To ensure staff understood the community's values early on in the project, staff had a pop-up at the Minto Park sale in June 2025 and held a walking tour in September. Example of comments we received are seen on the slide. We then formed a community advisory group, as this has been the practice of the Heritage Planning Branch, to maximize local participation and ensure detailed discussion. We also had a wider public meeting in March where all property owners were invited to Jack Purcell to review the draft documents. Another part of our engagement was reaching out to collaborating Indigenous communities. We met with the Algonquins of Pikwakanagan and as a result added a section for commemoration and interpretation in the plan and are seeking direction today to continue engagement with Indigenous communities to ensure the city's heritage program reflects the whole history of Ottawa. Next slide. I'm passing it to Lauren.
Alongside community engagement, we conducted rigorous historical research and created a comprehensive historical overview of the Golden Triangle neighborhood, parts of which I'm going to share today. The Golden Triangle is a diverse and vibrant neighborhood with a unique history, cultural heritage values, and community. Throughout its history, the neighborhood has been defined by its eastern boundary along the Rideau Canal, which gives the neighborhood its distinctive triangular shape and name and influences the area's off-grid street pattern, irregular block sizes, and distinguishes it from the rest of Centertown. Next slide, please. The Golden Triangle's cultural heritage value lies in its role as an early residential neighborhood in Centertown, influenced by the construction of the canal and the growth of Ottawa as the nation's capital. The neighborhood is situated on the traditional unceded and unsurrendered territory of the Anishinaabe Algonquin peoples, and the earliest colonial settlements in the area are tied to the construction of the canal, including Corktown, which was an early settlement of Irish canal workers established as early as 1827. Ottawa's designation as Canada's capital in 1857 created a growing need for housing near Parliament Hill, and in response, the By and Stewart estates were sold and subdivided in 1875, marking the beginning of permanent development in the Golden Triangle. Next slide, please. The neighborhood's development character is influenced by the surrounding iconic Ottawa landmarks, including the canal, Queen Elizabeth Driveway, and Parliament Hill. In the late 19th century, the banks of the canal accommodated railway and lumber industries, which were removed at the turn of the century as part of capital beautification efforts, including the construction of the picturesque driveway. By 1905, the driveway was built as a scenic parkway that attracted new residential development along the canal. Throughout its history, the neighborhood's proximity and accessibility to Parliament Hill made it a desirable place for civil servants and government workers to live. H-shaped walk-ups and apartment buildings in the neighborhood were constructed as convenient, affordable living accommodations. In the 20th century, the neighborhood's proximity also led to the conversion of several residential buildings to diplomatic use, including 7 Delaware, pictured here on the right side of the screen. Next slide, please. The Golden Triangle's built form is representative of an early residential neighborhood defined by its cohesive streetscapes of red brick buildings with consistent setbacks, front porches, and front yards with soft landscaping and gardens. The neighborhood developed largely between the 1870s and the 1930s, and it features a diverse yet cohesive mix of housing, from large detached dwellings to modest buildings like front gable and row houses. The wide range of residential building types reflects Golden Triangle's long-standing socioeconomic diversity. Today, the historic character of the area remains intact. It has been well preserved by property owners and is continuously cherished by many. Next slide, please. The preceding historical overview formed a key part of the Golden Triangle study. As required by the Act, a study is a precursor to the HCD. This is the first HCD staff are bringing forward since changes to the Act, which now requires that at least 25% of the properties within the defined area meet 2 or more of the 9 criteria for determining cultural heritage value. The study included an evaluation process which assessed the history, context, and built form of the neighborhood. It was determined that the area as a whole met 5 of the 9 criteria. Each property was then assessed against those 5 criteria, and a survey form was created to indicate how it contributes to the area's cultural heritage value. The study concludes that 74% of the properties in the area meet 2 or more of the criteria. Next slide, please.
Because the area far exceeds the threshold for designation under the Act, staff are recommending designation as a heritage conservation district. The recommended boundaries are generally defined as Somerset Street West to the north, Argyle Street to the south, Elgin to the west, and the bank of the Rideau Canal to the east. This area has the highest concentration of cultural heritage resources. The buildings shaded in the map above that are blue contribute to the area's cultural heritage value as defined in the evaluation, and gray do not. Next slide, please. An HCD plan was prepared in accordance with the requirements of the Act. The plan is what is used to assess and manage change. The Act requires a statement of objectives, a statement of cultural heritage value, and description of heritage attributes. These required pieces are found in Section A of the plan. The Statement of Cultural Heritage Value is a shortened history of the area that directly responds to the criteria, and the heritage attributes are the elements that reflect the values in the statement. Examples of attributes are the variety of architectural forms and styles and the historic street grid. Next slide, please. Another required section of a plan, as per the Act, is policies and guidelines for managing change. It should be acknowledged that change is expected and the intention is not to freeze the area in time. The policies and guidelines are drafted to manage these changes while ensuring conservation of the place. The sections, as seen on the screen, relate to the most common types of alterations. It should be noted that redevelopment and intensification is contemplated in this plan. While sections pertaining to incorporation of heritage buildings, like the examples on the screen, as well as building conversions. Staff also work to maintain flexibility by providing a range of options to achieve the intended objectives. Next slide, please. Throughout our engagement on this project and during engagement on the Rideau Canal Cultural Landscape Study, which will be presented later on in this meeting, the community highlighted the importance of the canal and the driveway and expressed that it is a loved recreational amenity. The city's official plan has also identified the waterway, landscape buffer, and first row of properties as a special district. For these reasons and our historic research, we are proposing a special character area within the plan. Heritage and zoning staff have worked closely to ensure alignment of the current planning policy framework for the whole area. Through this process, staff have identified the need to refine the applicable zoning provisions for the first row of properties and are seeking direction today to further consider the zoning to reduce the need to seek excessive zoning relief. Next slide, please. So to summarize what you have heard in this presentation, we are recommending the above recommendations. Approve the study, approve the designation, adopt a heritage conservation district plan, direct heritage planning and zoning staff to further consider the zoning for the first row of properties, and to direct staff to continue engagement with Indigenous communities towards the development of an Algonquin knowledge and land use study. Next slide, please. In terms of next steps, if the recommendations are carried today, they will be heard at council tomorrow. A bylaw would then be taken to council in August. Property owners will be notified of the bylaw passage and provided information on the appeal process. The appeal period is 30 days. And once this period concludes and appeals are heard, a bylaw would be registered on title. The earliest this would happen is fall of this year. Next slide. So to wrap up the presentation, we would like to go over the implications for property owners if the area were to be designated. Once designated, heritage permits for alterations would be required. Major changes require council's approval prior to the issuance of a permit, while others are approved by heritage staff through delegated authority. Staff worked with the community advisory group and created a comprehensive list of works not requiring heritage permits. This includes, but is not limited to, interior alterations, regular ongoing maintenance, landscape, and alterations in rear yards. Property owners would also have access to our Heritage Property Grant Program, historic research, and would be contributing to the conservation of the neighborhood's cultural heritage value and sense of place now and into the future. Thank you.
Thank you so much for the presentation. We did receive 14 items of correspondence from residents as well as from the Centertown Community Association and Heritage Ottawa. And we do have a number of delegations this morning on this item, starting with Jack Hanna, Chair of the Centertown Citizens Association. Thank you for joining us this morning, and you have 5 minutes before the committee.
So I am the chair of the Centertown Community Association's Heritage Committee, and I'm here on behalf of the CCA. I start by pointing out that the CCA has been extensively involved with the city's excellent heritage staff in developing this proposal. We are strongly in favor of the Golden Triangle HCD. We support it entirely. Today, the Golden Triangle very much is a village nestled within the city. It is a very neighborly village, and that is a direct result of its built heritage. Victorian houses are packed side by side, front yards are tiny. There are lots of people on every block. This makes for friendliness. People chat over the front fence, often about the front yard gardens. They stop for a gab while walking the dog. The Victorian streets with high densities have made this a neighborly place. This always has been a diverse community, and it still is, again, because of the Victorian streets. There's an immense diversity of types of heritage housing, including working-class front gable cottages and a variety of row houses and apartment buildings. This great variety of heritage housing endures, and because that diversity of housing still exists, the community today is home to a diverse population, from the middle class to students to those in rooming houses and a halfway house. There is great diversity and village atmosphere and culture, all because of the variety of densely packed Victorian homes. For 130 years, the breadth of heritage housing has been the foundation of the character of the Golden Triangle, and it still very much is today. The HCD will allow even greater density. Developers can build between, above, and behind the Victorian houses. That has happened all over Centertown, and it is the future of the Golden Triangle. Land assembly is happening. That's good. The city must evolve for greater density. What is wonderful is that we can do this while retaining and honoring heritage streetscapes. Later this morning, you will consider the Rideau Canal Cultural Landscape Study, a major study that is a joint effort of the National Capital Commission, Parks Canada, and the city. It was released just last week. Recommendation number 4 suggests creating HCDs along the banks of the canal. It specifically suggests an HCD on the west bank of the canal from Somerset to the Queensway. Well, the Golden Triangle HCD precisely fulfills that imperative. The CCA has been extensively involved, today in the Golden Triangle, there is street after street, block after block of heritage homes and row houses and apartment buildings. All retain their heritage character and almost all are well kept. Many, many heritage streetscapes are almost entirely intact. This is very much a heritage village. With the Golden Triangle, you are creating one of Ottawa's finest, most beautiful HCDs. Thank you.
Thank you so much for your comments. Are there any questions from committee for the delegate? Seeing none, thank you so much. Our next registered delegation is David Jeans from Heritage Ottawa.
Thank you, Chair. First, I need to apologize that Heritage Ottawa submitted written comments late. You may not have had time to read them. They have been received. They were all, for all 4 items today, they were all in support. This particular one, the Golden Triangle Heritage Conservation District, the comments were prepared by Hunter McGill, Director of Heritage Ottawa, who lives in Centertown and plays a leading role in Friends of the Rideau, so is very much involved in the canal, but he could not be here today. So Heritage Ottawa is supporting this proposal for all the reasons that you've been given by staff, the strong links to Ottawa's early development, the range of housing types, I mean, everything that you've heard already. We do wish to encourage the city to continue to show this kind of leadership, moving quickly on this Heritage Conservation District before the expiration of protection on the Heritage Register has been an important job, and staff are to be commended for the thoroughness of the work to develop this proposal and the analytical work that went into it. From my personal point of view, I'm very familiar with this area. I attended Lisgar Collegiate for 4 years, so it's my neighborhood. In fact, it's a rather unusual heritage conservation district being directly bounded on the west side by 2 other districts. And in fact, when you look at the Golden Triangle as a community, the existence of the east side of Elgin Street, which has many buildings of heritage interest, is a significant contributor to the health of the community. And of course, the Minto Park, which has its own HCD designation, helps build the community. It used to be more of a 15-minute community, perhaps, than it is right now. There used to be a public school. There are the churches which are still there that are just on the boundaries of the HCD. But I think the comments that Jack Hanna made about the vibrant and cohesive nature of this community are very important. The adjacency to the Rideau Canal special character area that you'll be looking at later, UNESCO World Heritage Site, is unique. The fact that the boundary of this HCD extends right to the edge of the canal is very good. That's actually overlapping the 30-meter protection zone of the World Heritage Site. And in fact, none of our other HCDs are directly linked to a World Heritage Site in this way. So just to sum up, Heritage Ottawa strongly supports this designation of the HCD. Thank you.
Thank you so much for your comments. Are there any questions from committee for this delegate? Seeing none, thank you so much for joining us this morning. The next registered delegation is Catherine Richards. And I don't see anybody responding from the gallery. I just wanted to check with the committee coordinator as to whether Ms. Richards is online. Okay, she is not. So we will move to our final delegation, George Domaratsky. Thank you so much for joining us this morning, and you have 5 minutes before the committee.
Okay, good morning. I'm speaking as a property owner in the Golden Triangle for the last 30 years. And in the last 30 years, I've seen a slow degradation of the neighborhood in that quite often, I see renovations that are not in, that do not reflect the character of the district. In my personal case, I've, for example, renovated my porch to exactly the way it was before, and that's more labor intensive. And in the same recently, I also had to do change I have a Tudor style house that has stucco and half timbers, and could have saved a lot of money by just coating it with clapboard or but we insisted on keeping the same design. So it pains me when I do spend a little more to preserve the character, to see other neighbors replace their porches with glass partitions or dimensional 2x2 the balusters. And I think that's sure it's a savings. Maybe the reason that's to do it is to save on renovation costs, but overall, I think it degrades the value of their house and every house in the district. So that's the reason I support the approval of the designation. And one more thing is the other thing that I've seen happen a lot is again, trees disappearing and being replaced, front lawns being replaced by parking lots. That's a shame. Again, I think it's done simply just for a little more profit from the owners, but it really degrades the looks of the district, and I think ultimately the value of their homes. And I think the designation is a form of guidance which will help people make proper renovations that it's all possible to do these renovations without altering the looks drastically. Thank you.
Thank you so much for your comments. Are there any questions for this delegate from members? Seeing none, thank you so much for participating today and also for your investments in your property. We really like to commend residents who take that pride and who want to ensure that the properties, really correspond with the nature of the cultural heritage of the neighborhood. So we definitely thank you for that. And also thank you for your comments on paving that's unnecessary and is beyond the scope of the bylaw. So we appreciate your comments. That concludes our delegations. Questions to staff and comments? Councillor Leeper.
Just one question. Good morning, and thanks for the work that you put into this. But one question arising out of the previous delegation, the mention of parking. There's good mention of how parking has historically been handled in the HCD area. If people are proposing new infills that are going to have parking, will the HCD, the Part 5, give us some leverage over where that is located?
Through you, Chair. Thanks for the question. We do have a section on landscaping in public realm, encouraging soft landscaping, sort of reinstating that traditional front yard garden nature. And then when parking is proposed, how to screen it, where with bushes, whatever it might be. So we do have some guidance and policies related to that, but ultimately parking is regulated through the zoning bylaw.
The zoning
obviously.
bylaw. Okay. Thank you. That's all, sir. Thank you.
Thank you so much. Are there any other questions for staff or comments on this item? Member Borns.
I notice you've gone out to the canal. Is there anything that the NCC would have to apply for a heritage permit for as it relates to the use of the canal? Either replacing the wall or moving the bike path, that kind of thing.
Thank you for your question. I might start this question and then maybe have my colleagues support this, but the NCC and Parks Canada were stakeholders in this engagement process and were involved and reviewed the plan, and they were supportive of the character area along the canal. They are a large landowner of all the green space directly adjacent. Parks Canada is not included in being a landowner as they own the waterway, so it's just NCC that would be affected. They would not be required to get heritage permits, but there is an understanding that they would reference the plan and try as best as they could to follow the guidance and policies related to that section.
Take that as a no?
Yes, no.
Thank you so much. Are there any other questions on this item for staff? Seeing none, I really do want to thank staff for their hard work on preparing this heritage conservation plan that's before us. We know that Ottawa's heritage conservation districts are part of what makes the city livable, walkable, and connected to its history. I also, and I think that we heard a demonstration this morning of the fact that residents cherish the neighborhoods that they live in because they themselves, and I think that we heard this from a delegate, make deliberate decisions to protect the character of their homes and their properties. And through this structured process, we believe that the Golden Triangle deserves the same. The neighborhood has been shaped by more than 150 years of Ottawa's history. Irish canal workers, civil servants, diplomats, families of every background have called it home. Protecting its heritage is not about nostalgia. It's about honoring that layered history and ensuring future residents can still see it and experience it in their streets. So I'm pleased that the committee has this recommendation before it to adopt the 5 recommendations of this report, including a recommendation that I think is very innovative around Indigenous reconciliation and acknowledgement. And I would ask colleagues to join me in supporting this important step for the Golden Triangle. and for heritage conservation in the city. Is the technical amendment carried? Carried. Thank you so much. And is the item carried as amended?
Carried.
Carried. Thank you so much. So this report will be submitted to council on July 15th, 2026. Our next item is designation of 701 Montreal Road under Part 4 of the Ontario Heritage Act. There is a presentation
Il
from
y a
staff.
une présentation sur ce point portant sur le 701 chemin de Montréal.
Good morning, everyone.
Bonjour tout le monde.
I'll get started on the presentation. This is a report that recommends
C'est un rapport ici qui recommande qu'on donne un avis d'intention de désigner le 701 chemin Montréal en vertu de la partie 4 de la loi sur le patrimoine de l'Ontario. Cette adresse, c'est une propriété qui fait partie du registre du patrimoine et c'est l'une des propriétés qui en serait retirée à la fin de l'année s'il n'y a pas d'avis d'intention de désigner. Située à l'angle nord-est du chemin de Montréal et de la promenade de l'Aviation, cette propriété au 701 chemin de Montréal contient une petite maison de pierre calcaire d'à peu près 1885. C'est une maison à pignon d'un étage et demi, bien équilibrée et très solide, de l'ère de la colonisation. Elle a déjà fait partie d'une grande ferme et les terres agricoles ont été vendues pour de la construction, notamment celle de l'hôpital Montfort. Maintenant, je vais prendre un instant. On a fait de la recherche sur cette adresse et je dois dire que elle a été construite pendant la colonisation et dans l'ancien canton de Gloucester avec les Filles de la Sagesse, une congrégation catholique romaine fondée en France du 16e siècle. Ils répondent aux critères de désignation en vertu du règlement de l'Ontario. Alors, le 701 chemin Montréal a une valeur contextuelle car il contribue à préserver. Oups! C'est un modèle d'ancien cottage ontarien et la propriété est associée directement d'abord. Elle date de la colonisation du 19e siècle le long du chemin de Montréal dans le canton de Gloucester et aussi associée au fil de la sagesse, une congrégation catholique romaine établie au 16e siècle en France. La propriété a une valeur contextuelle car elle contribue à préserver le caractère historique du chemin de Montréal dans l'ancien canton de Gloucester. C'est l'un des 7 bâtiments en pierre encore présents dans ce secteur et la maison donc constitue un élément rare et remarquable de l'architecture qui borde le chemin de Montréal. La propriété est aussi liée fonctionnellement à l'établissement et à l'évolution de l'hôpital Montfort qui est adjacent. Pendant 73 ans, la maison en pierre n'a cessé de jouer un rôle essentiel aux activités de l'hôpital, un rôle qui a évolué au fil du temps. Elle a hébergé des membres des Filles de la Sagesse qui travaillaient à l'hôpital, ainsi que des élèves infirmières et des membres du clergé plus tard et du personnel hospitalier. Lorsque les Filles de la Sagesse vivaient dans l'hôpital en tant que tel au départ. L'hôpital prévoit une expansion à venir. Alors, le campus du chemin Montréal qui inclut une parcelle qui a été acquise récemment sur le chemin de Montréal. On a communiqué avec le propriétaire précédent et le propriétaire actuel de la propriété en 2024 et dans le cadre de l'expansion de l'hôpital à venir, on souligne qu'un permis de patrimoine sera nécessaire si la propriété est désignée pour faire toute rénovation. Et toute demande à venir requerrait également une démolition complète ou partielle. Toute proposition de démolition devrait être approuvée par le Conseil. Donc, le personnel recommande que le Conseil émette un avis d'intention de désigner cette propriété en vertu de la partie 4 de la Loi sur le patrimoine de l'Ontario et nous recommandons que le rapport soit présenté au Conseil demain, le 15 juillet. Ceci conclut la présentation du personnel et nous sommes là pour répondre à vos questions. Merci beaucoup de la présentation. Nous n'avons pas reçu de correspondance sur ce point, mais nous avons 2 délégués avec Miguel Sicotte au nom de l'hôpital Montfort. Merci de me recevoir. Nous avons travaillé avec des membres de votre personnel depuis à peu près 2 ans. Nous avons été en consultation. Je représente l'hôpital Montfort, hôpital qui prévoit élargir son campus au chemin de Montréal. C'est le seul centre de santé francophone d'Ottawa. Il est donc très important. Les plans sont en cours d'élaboration. On attend du financement du ministère de la Santé. Les architectes sont déjà embauchés et pendant l'élaboration du plan, la seule parcelle qui était disponible pour l'hôpital Montfort était le 701 chemin de Montréal. Et la propriété a été acquise au début de 2026. Et on sait que la propriété était sur la liste, mais donc c'est pourquoi on travaille avec les membres du personnel sur le libellé. Mais en réalité, je suis ici pour vous dire que dans quelques années, nous reviendrons devant vous car nous allons construire sur la propriété et on voulait que le comité et le conseil sachent que nous vous reviendrons pour demander un permis de démolition, de modification ou de déplacement. On voulait simplement que ce soit consigné dans les dossiers, que l'hôpital Montfort présentera une demande en temps et lieu à la ville d'Ottawa. Tout cela pour l'expansion de l'hôpital. Alors, je suis là pour répondre à vos questions, apaiser vos préoccupations. Alors, il n'y a pas de questions de la part du personnel, mais voilà, c'est un fait. Si les plans d'expansion étaient plus avancés, on pourrait s'opposer à la désignation, mais en toute honnêteté, nous ne sommes pas tout à fait prêts à présenter nos plans d'expansion, mais cela inclura certainement le terrain du 701. Alors, nous avons besoin de plus d'espace pour les soins de longue durée et aussi des installations d'urgence de l'hôpital Montfort. Il n'y a plus de place sur la propriété de l'hôpital actuel, ni autour sur le chemin de Montréal ou alors la promenade de l'aéroport. Donc, voilà ce que j'avais à dire là-dessus. Je ne sais pas s'il y a des membres du comité qui ont des questions. Merci beaucoup. Nous avons des questions, à commencer par la vice-présidente Plante.
Merci beaucoup. C'est pas vraiment relié aux allocations, qu'est-ce que vous venez de dire, mais je voulais juste, vous pouvez rapporter peut-être au conseil que les filles de la sagesse, c'est les descendants des filles du roi. Je suis comme obsédée un peu avec les filles du roi parce que je trouve ça hyper intéressant, qu'est-ce qui est arrivé à ces filles-là. Et puis, avant que vous êtes venus aujourd'hui, j'ai fait quelques recherches. Et puis, alors, ces filles-là, ils viennent comme pas beaucoup de générations, là. C'est pas trop éloigné de la France qui sont venus au Québec, puis enfin apporter leur francophonie ici à Ottawa. Alors, je voulais juste vous partager ça parce que je trouve que c'est un enjeu très intéressant. Alors, il y a comme un lien direct avec les filles qui ont fondé le pays.
Merci, Madame Plante. Les filles de la sagesse, les Daughters of wisdom, I don't know how to say it in English, created this hospital many decades ago, and ultimately it was took over by the Ministry of Health of Ontario.
Finances qui s'en est chargé en Ontario après.
For sure. The problem that the order is having is that there are no new members joining
Le
this
problème
order,
ici,
and
c'est qu'il
there's-
n'y a
there
plus
was
de
no
nouveaux
need
membres
for
qui
them
se
to
joignent
use
à
this
cette
building. They have
congrégation,
this
donc ils
huge
n'ont plus
campus
besoin de
beside the bookshelf room.
de cet édifice. Ils ont un autre immeuble de l'autre côté du chemin de Montréal.
Obsolete to les filles de la sagesse,
Donc,
but yes, absolutely.
la congrégation n'en avait plus besoin.
Member Legault.
Membre Legault, vous n'êtes pas encore à l'étape de la planification. Alors, je ne veux pas être injuste et vous poser trop de questions, mais dans l'ensemble, quand vous avez communiqué avec le personnel, est-il d'accord pour maintenir cette valeur patrimoniale, désignation patrimoniale? Nous travaillons au texte, mais le problème que j'envisage, j'extrapole un peu, mais une fois que les plans auront été élaborés, cet immeuble ne sera pas utile pour notre centre dansé. Il n'y a pas d'accès pour les fauteuils roulants, il n'y a pas d'air climatisé. Ce n'est pas vraiment un immeuble pratique ou utile. Qu'on demande la démolition ou son déplacement, cela dépendra des architectes qui feront les plans de localisation et ainsi de suite. Une précision, en 2026, l'hôpital Montfort a acheté cette maison-ci seulement ou le terrain aussi? Oui, le terrain aussi. Et on a acheté le terrain, mais la maison s'y trouve sur ce terrain. Notre intention était d'acquérir le terrain seulement. Oui. Est-ce que vous dites qu'il y a un couvent qui était, oui, de l'autre côté du chemin de Montréal? C'est leur installation. Non, on n'a pas acheté ce terrain. Donc, les filles de la sagesse sont propriétaires du couvent et de la maison, mais vous n'avez acheté que le terrain de la maison. On a acheté le 701. Leurs installations sont sur le chemin de Montréal, un peu plus loin. C'est un gros immeuble moderne. Je pense qu'il y a une partie peut-être qui a été déjà désignée, mais ce n'est pas mon dossier, alors je ne suis pas certain. Oui, c'est une propriété complètement différente. Quand on parle de l'expansion de l'hôpital Montfort, on veut agrandir l'immeuble. Ce ne seront pas de nouveaux immeubles. On veut vraiment agrandir l'immeuble central. Il est important pour tout le monde d'être près les uns des autres pour les chirurgies et ainsi de suite. Parce que on veut éventuellement, c'est pour cela qu'on veut développer le 701. Avez-vous étudié, avez-vous pensé à la possibilité de laisser la maison là? D'après ce que je comprends maintenant, ce ne serait pas possible. La maison est à l'angle nord-est et c'est tout près de l'hôpital. La superficie n'est pas très grande. Alors, il faudrait à tout le moins qu'elle soit déplacée. Et à cet égard, nous avons embauché des ingénieurs de structure et on s'est fait dire qu'on pouvait déplacer l'immeuble. Il est assez solide. Et combien coûterait-il de le déménager? Approximativement entre 300 et 400 000 $. Sans qu'on ait d'endroit où déplacer la maison toutefois. D'autres questions? Je veux simplement dire que 300 à 400 000 $, c'est tout à fait raisonnable puisque c'est un immeuble patrimonial. En fait, l'hôpital Montfort est un très bon hôpital. Des membres de ma famille qui sont nés là. On apprécie beaucoup cet hôpital. Bon, certaines de mes questions ont déjà été posées, mais avez-vous pensé, par exemple, inclure cette maison dans votre futur aménagement? On est en train de recueillir des fonds qu'il nous faut, des architectes sont embauchés, mais avec cette désignation patrimoniale qui s'en vient, si on peut incorporer une partie de la maison, peut-être. On n'a rien contre la désignation en tant que telle de la maison, mais ce n'est pas facile pour nous parce qu'il faut quand même équilibrer les besoins de la communauté en soins de santé par opposition à protéger une valeur patrimoniale. Est-ce qu'il y aurait peut-être des matériaux qu'on pourrait récupérer? Ben, bon, préserver la maison, pour moi, semble raisonnable. Après avoir lu les documents de soutien, on peut voir que l'utilisation de ces propriétés a changé au fil du temps. Peut-être que vous pourriez vous en servir à différentes fins, hein. J'ai l'impression que ce serait peut-être possible, même si c'est une structure assez petite. Ça pourrait quand même être spécial. Bon, c'est de cela dont on a discuté avec le personnel très ouvertement d'ailleurs. Mais le campus, un campus d'hôpital est très achalandé. La population vieillit, les besoins sont grandissants. On a beaucoup besoin d'installations de soins de longue durée de plus en plus pour la communauté francophone. Donc, et moi, je suis ici aujourd'hui pour vous dire que nous reviendrons devant vous pour présenter une demande. Merci. Merci beaucoup. Je ne vois pas d'autres questions. Et merci de votre candeur avec le personnel. Vous avez vraiment tenu compte de toutes les possibilités. Et moi, je veux remercier votre merveilleux personnel aussi. Merci. Le deuxième intervenant, David Jeans de Patrimoine Ottawa. Merci, Monsieur le Président. Là encore, Patrimoine Ottawa vous a envoyé des commentaires par écrit et je dois dire qu'en appuyant cette désignation, nous voulons souligner que votre décision d'aujourd'hui repose seulement sur les critères de désignation et les aménagements à venir, déménagement ou quoi que ce soit, n'entrent pas en ligne de compte aujourd'hui. Quoique nous avons fait des commentaires là-dessus dans notre version écrite. Et j'aimerais vous souligner personnellement que la Ville a des exemples notoire de déplacement d'un immeuble de pierre sur le chemin March il y a quelques années, un immeuble de valeur patrimoniale pour l'élargissement de la chaussée. Ensuite, on a incorporé le bureau du registre en pierre et en briques qui a été déplacé. Enfin, il y a plusieurs choses que l'on peut faire et nous sommes particulièrement heureux que les gens de l'hôpital travaillent en étroite collaboration avec les gens du patrimoine ici. Et sur une note personnelle, pour aller au collège de Lisgar, il fallait que je prenne un autobus scolaire tout le long du chemin de Montréal pendant 4 ans de temps, tous les jours. Alors, je connais bien ce coin et je pourrais vous dire que dans les 7 immeubles de pierre qui ont été mentionnés, il n'y en a que 2 sur le chemin de Montréal, entre Blair et Saint-Laurent. Et l'autre, alors, cet immeuble avait été exclu parce qu'il est entouré d'arbres et quasi invisible depuis la rue. Mais c'est vraiment un repère très intéressant aussi. Enfin, j'espère que l'hôpital trouvera moyen de conserver la valeur patrimoniale, le lien contextuel avec les filles de la sagesse, c'est très important. Et l'hôpital Montfort, pendant plusieurs années, c'était l'hôpital local de mes parents. C'est le dernier hôpital où mon père a été et c'est là où ma mère est décédée. Alors, J'ai beaucoup des liens très étroits avec l'hôpital Montfort aussi. Alors, je terminerai en disant que Patrimoine Ottawa est tout à fait d'accord avec votre intention de désigner. Nous apprécions beaucoup vos commentaires là-dessus. C'est un hôpital important pour la communauté et le potentiel de déplacement de la maison sera certainement étudié. Alors, je vous remercie beaucoup de tout ce que vous avez souligné. Y a-t-il d'autres questions pour Monsieur Jeans? Non, alors merci beaucoup. Questions à poser au personnel. C'est peut-être dans le rapport, mais avez-vous des plans de la propriété alors qu'il y avait encore une exploitation agricole? J'essaie de comprendre la valeur contextuelle. Bon. Le terrain allait de la rivière des Outaouais jusqu'à la route. Alors, c'était un immense terrain. Alors, c'est entre deux lots et vous pouvez voir la disposition. Il devrait y avoir une photo dans le document 4. C'est la partie ouvrant Gloucester. Mais dans l'ensemble, il y avait différentes familles qui exploitaient la terre des deux côtés du chemin Montréal. Et les choses ont évolué passablement. Il y avait aussi une famille qui était dans la production laitière. Et dans le 20e siècle, ça a été transformé en pépinière pour des arbres et des produits maraîchers. Et c'était donc la dernière exploitation agricole qui était sur ce terrain. Le terrain a ensuite été transféré aux filles de la sagesse. Bon, merci. Est-ce qu'il y a d'autres questions? Alors, je veux remercier le personnel aussi de son bon travail et de sa bonne communication avec l'hôpital. Il est important de discuter à fond de ce dossier et je remercie l'hôpital de sa candeur et de sa transparence ici devant le comité pour éclairer notre décision. Et le personnel a très bien expliqué la teneur de ce dossier, que toute demande de modification nécessitera une autorisation en vertu de la loi sur la protection du patrimoine de l'Ontario, surtout si l'on pense à déménager la maison sur le chemin de Montréal. On pourrait quand même la conserver aussi en l'intégrant simplement à la nouvelle expansion de l'hôpital. Il y a des utilisations adaptées dans la ville qui ont très bien fonctionné. Et donc, ce pourrait être une possibilité. Et le personnel a mentionné cette possibilité aussi. C'est à prendre en considération au moment de l'expansion de l'hôpital. Et on nous a dit que ça s'est déjà fait. Donc, nous sommes saisis de ce rapport et je suis très heureux des possibilités et que la discussion se poursuivra avec le propriétaire. Alors, est-ce que le rapport est adopté? L'idée qu'un hôpital construise son expansion et inclut cette maison dans ses plans me préoccupe. Alors, j'aimerais proposer, si quelqu'un m'appuie, que l'allusion du déplacement de l'immeuble soit retirée du rapport. Soit on démolit, soit on l'intègre à la nouvelle partie de l'hôpital Montfort. Allez-vous proposer cela par écrit et pour remettre la copie au coordonnateur? Merci.
J'aimerais donner un peu de contexte. Le registre, on avait un ancien bureau de poste. Oui, c'est ça, c'est le registre foncier. C'était au coin de Nicolas et Dali. Et nous l'avons déplacé. Alors, on peut déplacer des maisons dans le quartier 12, ce ne serait pas un précédent. C'est maintenant utilisé comme porte d'entrée de l'édifice. Je voulais vous donner ce contexte. Alors, on peut maintenir et réutiliser ce type de maison, principalement dans le quartier numéro 12. Merci. Justement, comme conseillère Plante le disait, on a d'autres exemples dans la ville où nous avons réussi à déplacer des édifices. Alors, surtout des petits édifices patrimoniaux de cette taille, s'ils soient déplacés ou intégrés dans le nouvel édifice. Il est un peu trop tôt à cette étape de décider que l'hôpital ne devrait pas investir et déplacer cette propriété. Je pense que l'on va un peu trop vite. Il pourrait y avoir des options abordables. On ne veut pas éliminer les possibilités. Et cette motion nous nous enlèverait une option. Je demande à mes collègues de ne pas soutenir la motion présentée. Merci, Madame Quinn. Conseiller Leeper. Je ne peux appuyer cette motion. Je ne suis pas un architecte ni un spécialiste. Mais il semble qu'il y ait des options. On peut peut-être même le déplacer sur place. Si on examine le lot, c'est un lot qui est assez grand. Peut-être qu'on pourrait le déplacer la maison tout simplement sur le coin sud-est. Il faut laisser à l'hôpital les options possibles. Je suis d'accord avec vous, conseiller Leeper, avec Madame Queen. Nous avons déjà déplacé des maisons et l'exemple de la petite maison qui était le registre foncier est un excellent exemple. Donc, nous avons les options. Cela a déjà été fait lors de d'autres développements. Nous voulons préserver notre patrimoine tout en offrant des options au sein de la ville. Et nous ne sommes pas la seule administration au sein de l'Ontario qui procède de cette façon. Vice-présidente Plante, avec votre indulgence, j'aimerais vous donner un peu plus de contexte. Désolée si je vous ai parlé en français, je ne sais pas si vous avez bien compris mes propos. J'aimerais réexpliquer. Alors, l'édifice fut bâti par les filles de la sagesse. Ce sont les descendantes directes des filles du roi. Et dans l'histoire francophone, il est très important de maintenir ce type d'établissement pour souligner le travail de ces femmes. À cette époque, les femmes avaient des grandes familles, 9 à 10 enfants, et ne participaient pas nécessairement à la vie active. Et pour nous, près du Québec, dans cette région de l'Ontario, c'est important, car nous voulons vraiment souligner l'histoire des filles du roi, des filles de la sagesse. Même ma grand-mère n'a jamais eu la possibilité de fréquenter l'école, car elle avait 12 enfants à la maison. Je voulais vous donner un peu de contexte. C'est très important de préserver l'histoire. On demandait beaucoup à ces femmes. Elles font partie de notre histoire. Et oui, on parle bien entendu d'un édifice, mais elle symbolise l'histoire des francophones dans la région, la participation des femmes, leur participation qui ont permis de maintenir le français en vie dans cette région. Et c'est la raison pour laquelle nous avons des soins de santé modernes dans cette région. C'est grâce aux filles de la sagesse. Ce sont ces sœurs qui ont prodigué des soins de santé aux colons à cette époque. Nous avons maintenant la motion par écrit. Est-ce que le coordonnateur pourrait bien vouloir l'afficher à l'écran? Nous discuterons de cette motion. Alors, voici la motion suivante. Par conséquent, il est résolu que l'option de déplacer l'édifice soit retirée du rapport. J'aimerais demander un vote enregistré, s'il vous plaît.
Member Quinn. No. Councillor Kelly.
No.
Member Madigan.
No.
Councillor Troster. Member Legault.
No.
Councillor Leeper.
Yes? Oh, sorry, no. I'm sorry, I'm distracted. You almost had me. No, thank you.
Member Borns.
Yes.
Vice Chair Plount.
No.
Chair King.
No.
1 yea, 7 nays.
Une en faveur, 4 oppositions. Sur le point, est-ce adopté? Adopté tel que avec un désaccord enregistré. Le rapport sera remis au Conseil et présenté le 15 juillet 2026. Prochain point de l'ordre du jour, passons à 5.4.
Good morning, Mr. Chair, members of committee. I'm joined by a guest star today. One of my two co-conspirators in this project. Unfortunately, our colleague Susan Miller couldn't be here today as she's ill. So today we're going to be providing a presentation on the Rideau Canal Cultural Landscape Study of the Ottawa Reach. And with me today, I have Heather Thompson, who's the Heritage Program Manager at the National Capital Commission. And as I said, Susan Miller was our colleague from Parks Canada, from the Ontario Waterways Group at Parks Canada, responsible for the Rideau Canal on this project. Before I get going, I'll also say there were a number of other staff from other organizations, from all three organizations who were involved in the project as well. So it was a big, heavy lift, and we're really excited to be here today to present this to the committee. So next slide, please. So this is, I think, to the first of our knowledge, the first project of this type, cross-jurisdictional study led as a partnership between the three organizations, and it was an equal partnership. It was like a school project where, we mostly got along. Everybody did their hard work, but sometimes, but the purpose and the benefits of the study were to understand the heritage values of the Ottawa Reach through research and engagement, through stakeholder consultation, and through engagement with Indigenous communities and the public. And what we found over the last, in my time here at the city, and I think beyond that, is that everybody recognizes the Rideau Canal as iconic to Ottawa's identity. It's such an important part of the city. The city has been shaped around it, and it has shaped the city. And it has, a lot of recognized heritage values, which we'll get into in terms of the UNESCO World Heritage Value, et cetera. But what we didn't really have between the three organizations who work together so often on the stewardship of this place is kind of a shared understanding of what are those values at all levels. So what is the outstanding universal value? We know that UNESCO tells us what that is, but what are the municipal values? What are the capital values? What are the national values? And how do we kind of put that all together in a package that will help us better manage and steward this place? So the goals of the study were to identify and document those values, as I described, to outline high-level conservation guidelines that could be applied by various members of the different organizations, and to enhance collaboration as we work together on this important place in Ottawa. Next slide, please. So just to give you a sense of the recommendations of the staff report that we're bringing forward today, it is to receive the study for information. The study will be published on all of the partner organizations' websites, and it's been translated in both official languages, and we think it's a great resource for information. And then the second one is specific to the city, which is to adopt the statements of significance that are included in this study for use in evaluating future applications under the Planning Act, the Ontario Heritage Act, and future HCD studies. I'll talk a little bit more about that later. Next slide, please. So just to give you a sense of the study area, it focused on a 8.2 kilometer stretch of the Rideau Canal from Ottawa Locks to Mooney's Bay. It included the canal itself, the surrounding federal lands, the UNESCO World Heritage Site Buffer Zone, and adjacent properties that contribute to its setting. It represents a unique section of the canal where we see canal engineering, capital planning, neighborhood development, and natural systems all sort of intersecting with one another. It closely aligns with the Rideau Canal Special District, which is identified in the city's official plan, and making, from the city's perspective, makes it especially relevant to our future work in terms of planning policy. Okay, I'm going to pass it over to Heather now. We're sort of adjusting a little bit as Susan couldn't join us, so we're going to jump back and forth a bit.
Good. Thank you. Thank you so much, Leslie. Good morning. It's a pleasure to be here. So next slide, please. Just to touch on a little bit about, this is a cultural landscape study. What is a cultural landscape? And there are many definitions used by the city, by the federal government, but some of the definitions that we've been using are from the Standards and Guidelines for the Conservation of Historic Places in Canada, and also our NCC Working with Cultural Landscapes Guide. This idea of a geographical area that's been modified, influenced, or given special meaning by people, but also a set of ideas and practices embedded in a place. So the point being that a cultural landscape is more than just a building or a view. It's a set of tangible and intangible elements that together give a place meaning. Next slide, please. Whoops, I'm turning myself off. Okay. So yes, as we know, the Rideau Canal, it has national and international significance as a National Historic Site of Canada, a Canadian Heritage River, and a UNESCO World Heritage Site, recognized for being the best preserved canal of its era that's still operational along its length, and a significant part of human history in terms of its original military purpose as part of the fight to control the north of the American continent, and for its use of slack water technology, which is very relevant, as you see throughout the study, in fact, because of the way that shaped the design of the canal and then the landscape surrounding it. Next slide, please. So it also, of course, has, as Leslie mentioned, capital and civic significance. So we talk always a lot, there's a lot of focus on the international significance with the World Heritage Site, but really the canal, as we heard in the presentation on the Golden Triangle, shaped the city and shaped the capital as we know it today, especially with some of the most iconic locations, with Parliament Hill being the former Barracks Hill, and just the iconic spaces within the center of the capital. Not to mention the iconic experiences that are part of the capital that the NCC has had an important role in playing. So the development of the Skateway, the Floral Program, the Tulip Festival, and all of the different ways people use the canal. And as part of our study, we also really recognize the important ecological values of the canal as an important corridor for many species of plants and wildlife that share that space. Next slide. I'll turn it over to Leslie there for the next two.
So before we get into the findings of the study, we just wanted to speak a little bit about the engagement that we undertook as part of this project. So the study area is located within the traditional unceded and unsurrendered territory of the Algonquin Anishinaabe people, and it made the Indigenous engagement piece of this a very fundamental part of the work. We met with the Algonquins of Pikwakanagan First Nation and the Algonquins of Ontario over the course of the study, and we received valuable feedback and recommendations from them. In particular, with the Algonquins of Pikwakanagan First Nation, we attended their Algonquin Advisory Committee in Pikwakanagan, presented this study, and received feedback and recommendations coming out of that work. Many of those recommendations were related or are related to future work that the city and the partners need to do with the First Nations to fully recognize and incorporate Algonquin perspectives into the work that we're doing from a heritage perspective. Key themes that came out of the consultation included the protection of water, wildlife, culturally significant plants, archaeological resources, and seeking opportunities to increase the visibility of Algonquin history in the corridor. And the study reinforces a commitment to continued dialogue and meaningful engagement on future projects and management initiatives as we go forward. Next slide, please. To mark the conclusion of the project, the partners led by the city participated in an Algonquin water ceremony at Mooney's Bay in May, led by an Algonquin elder from Pikwakanagan First Nation. The ceremony recognized the cultural and spiritual importance of water and the deep and enduring relationship between the Algonquin Nation and the Rideau watershed. It was a meaningful opportunity for the city, the NCC, and Parks Canada to come together with our First Nations partners in the spirit of partnership and respect. The event reflected a broader goal of ensuring that Indigenous perspectives are considered as we work towards the stewardship of this important place. Next slide, please. The project also included public engagement, and Heather recently phrased it as, we received 2,600 love letters to the canal. Through the public engagement, we held stakeholder and resident meetings. We had pop-up kiosks at the Lansdowne Farmers Market, as well as at the Walter Baker Complex. We had an online survey. There's your 2,600 love letters that we received. And we met with community associations, businesses, government agencies, and property owners with an interest in the corridor. And despite the diversity of participants, we heard over and over several consistent themes. Protecting the green space, conserving the environment, recognizing the iconic nature of the canal, both for residents and visitors alike, and maintaining recreational opportunities in this section of the canal. So we heard that it's not only an important heritage resource, but also a cherished public space that plays a central role in Ottawa's identity and quality of life. And you heard that also from the Golden Triangle study in terms of a small section of the study area. So I'm going to pass it back to Heather now, who's going to talk about the findings of the study.
Great, thank you. So next slide, please. So I'm just going to touch on the character areas. So yeah, actually we can go ahead to the next, so the one, yeah, there we are. So the study divided the study area into 7 character areas, 5 specific sectors, and then 2 linear areas, which were Queen Elizabeth Drive and Colonel By and Echo Drives. So I'll just touch very quickly on each of those. Next slide. So the first, so you'll see each, as you know, as you read the report, each character area has a map that identifies some of the key heritage elements, the views, the buildings, the remarkable trees, as per the NCC study that was done on remarkable trees. I mean, this is all extremely valuable to be able to provide context when there's projects that are proposed in an area, right? So this is part of the importance of the study. So each of these character areas has a map. And so the first one is Entrance Valley. We've used the word iconic many times in this presentation, but this is perhaps the most iconic, of course, an internationally recognizable view with Parliament Hill overlooking the locks, with the 8 locks as the focal point. Next slide. The Plaza character area. Here we are, which is really a capital identity space. It has some of our national institutions, the National Arts Centre, the former Union Station, which is the Senate of Canada building, Confederation Park. So this has such a very strong monumental capital identity. Next slide. Laurier to Bronson, which is such a wonderful, interesting area, not only from, in terms of its beauty and again, the views, but really it reflects the ingenuity of the canal design, which as we were talking about with the slack water technology, where many of us think of the canal as just a dug channel, but this is the ingenuity of the Rideau was that it was not mostly dug, it was mostly using dams and embankments to guide the water through the natural geography. And this is, you really see that where, here at the top of the screen, you see the deep cut, which was a straight channel, and the rest of it was a natural gully. So it's really interesting the way that was designed, and we really read that in the landscape here. But also, as we heard from the Golden Triangle, it shaped the neighborhoods. The canal design shaped the neighborhoods and the development and the beautification of Ottawa around it. Next slide. So the Dow's Lake area has its own distinct character, focused, of course, on some of the natural habitat, the Dominion Arboretum, but of course, opportunities for water-based recreation, which is it's a focal point for that, as well as for the Tulip Festival, the Floral Program, Winterlude. So a really dynamic area, but with beautiful amenities in Commissioners Park and the Arboretum. Next slide. And then Hartwells and Hogsback, two authentic lock station landscapes that form part of the UNESCO World Heritage designation, also reflecting the ingenuity of canal construction, also the relationship with Carleton University at the edge in this location, as well as, again, focus for birds and wildlife. And we heard a lot of that through the public engagement as well. Next slide. So Queen Elizabeth Drive, the first linear character area. Queen Elizabeth Drive, the capital's first scenic driveway, really unique example in North America, actually, of a parkway design before the common use of automobiles. Fascinating history, retains a lot of its early design features, including the Ottawa Improvement Commission lamps that we see here in the image, the predecessor to the NCC. And again, a social and recreational route connecting parks and public spaces. Next slide. And then Colonel By and Echo Drive being the next linear landscape. So again, a capital scenic entry, ceremonial routes, retains that park-like setting that reflects Queen Elizabeth on the other side. And of course, linked with the rail history of the area, very significant as well. And once again, shaping the residential, adjacent residential areas. Next slide. So just a quick note, I think we were going to sort of each take turns to talk about how the study will be used by our respective organizations. For the NCC, it is really about informing our long-range plans for the area. It did help to shape the core area plan that's just been approved recently. Also to inform our projects and plans, individual projects on the canal. So we have a number of projects where we're reworking different walls on the canal, Patterson Creek Bridge, the lighting project. So we've had a number of projects where it's really valuable to have this information, and that will help us into the future. Also to evaluate project impacts. When there's another proponent coming along proposing a project, it's really valuable to have these maps to say where are the trees, the elements, the views that we don't want to compromise as part of a project. We want to be able to build something that's going to enhance the space. And then public awareness programs, because we are working with partners on public awareness, and this is a really valuable tool. So for things like Open NCC and some of our other initiatives. I don't know if do you want to in terms of Parks Canada.
Maybe read the slide.
Sure. Parks Canada. So Susan would have spoken to some of the Parks Canada objectives, but similar in terms of helping to describe cultural landscapes, which is part of their World Heritage Site or National Historic Site Management Plan commitments. And they're also trying to support protection and better understanding of the values that go beyond the national significance and international significance of the site, helping them develop their site plans, evaluate project impacts. When there's proposals, they're asked to comment on them. They can take a look at the study and help to guide that. And then they have these periodic reports to UNESCO, and this is something that they'll be working to, they'll help to inform. So over to Leslie.
Thank you, Heather. And for the city, the initiative came out of the new official, well, I guess it's not new anymore, but the official plan and the Rideau Canal Special District policies, which this study will help to implement in terms of recognizing that role of the canal in Ottawa's identity as an important place that shapes the city. And then along with those special district policies, there have long been policies in the city's official plan about evaluating heritage impacts of development adjacent to the canal. And we've never really had a very good tool to use to assist us in evaluating those impacts. And so that was also one of the goals here, was to, you know, if you just use the UNESCO designation, it's actually somewhat insufficient because it's mainly about the engineering works. And so the construction of a building nearby doesn't really affect the engineering of the canal. So that was the main goal. And then also to inform our future designation work or current designation work, just because the Golden Triangle landed here on the same day, just coincidentally. You know, this study was used even in the draft form to help inform that project as well. Next slide, please. So just to go back, as I said, the study includes a wide range of recommendations. We've sort of summarized them here. Some of them are applicable to the city, some of them are applicable to the NCC, some of them are good for everybody, but generally to conserve those character defining elements. So those views, those important buildings, those trees, those landscapes that are shown on the maps and described in the statement of significance, to conserve and enhance the tree canopy, to enhance public appreciation, to retain opportunities for quiet activities along the canal. People enjoy the sort of passive recreation nature of the canal. We heard that a lot. And then to ensure the compatibility of new features and other interventions, and direction to the city in particular to undertake new potential heritage conservation district studies and other possible planning approaches that still require a bit more work internally before we'd be prepared to bring something forward. Next slide. And then finally, just to go over recommendation 2 of the staff report, which is that Council or Built Heritage Committee recommend that Council adopt the statements of significance that are outlined in sections 4 and 5 of the study, because they provide a shared understanding of the key heritage values. They bring together the international, national, capital, civic, values associated with the canal, and that they would become a resource for heritage planning and beyond in terms of evaluating applications under the Planning Act, the Ontario Heritage Act, future designations in the area. So the second recommendation is that these be adopted. That doesn't make them a bylaw. It just makes them an endorsed tool that, so if an applicant is coming in and we tell them that they require a heritage impact assessment as part of their planning application, we would direct them to this study to consider sections 4 and 5 in evaluating impacts. So if you are proposing something along Colonel By, you have to go to the Colonel By statement of significance for the Colonel By character area and have a look at that and then determine if there are any potential impacts as a result of this development. And then how could we mitigate those impacts through design or through landscaping or whatever. So that is the sort of meat of the recommendation coming out of this study. But I do anticipate that down the road, we will have future work that will come to this committee that is based on the other recommendations of this study. So all that to say, we're very proud of this work. It's been a really great collaborative effort, and I think a good demonstration of how we can work together in the capital where there are so many different people involved and organizations involved to recognize something that I think is universally beloved. We're happy to answer any questions the committee might have.
Thank you so much for the in-depth report and the in-depth work. And thank you so much for your presence here on behalf of the National Capital Commission. We do appreciate the depth and breadth of this report. We do have one delegation on this item, or one delegate, David Jeans from Heritage Ottawa.
Sorry, I'm just going to actually declare like a declaration of conflict of interest. And I'm an employee of Parks Canada, so I can't comment on this, and I'm gonna go. Just so read this. Okay, so I, member Christine Legault, declare potential deemed indirect pecuniary interest.
Member Legault, I think that your declaration is for the next item. That is.
Oh, I see. No, it's for this.
Okay,
Yeah, it's
okay.
for this.
Okay.
So can I just say I have a conflict of interest? I work for Parks
Yes.
Canada directly with the Ontario Waterways. So thank you very much for your presentation.
Thank you. We appreciate that declaration of interest. And now over to you, Mr. James.
Thank you again. Heritage Ottawa again did submit comments late on this item. I was engaged with other members of Heritage Ottawa back in October 2023 on input to this study. Heritage Ottawa submitted written comments and comments on various interim documents through the process. We're very glad to see it finally come forward, a very, very good report. We're also glad that it's actually coincided with the implementation of one of the recommendations regarding adjacent HCDs, thanks to your earlier vote and hopefully City Council's vote tomorrow. Again, the Rideau Canal is very important. If I can just inject a personal note, I've been giving walking tours of the Rideau Canal for 18 years. For the Rideau Canal Festival for 5 of those years, for Heritage Ottawa, for Jane's Walk. And I give coach tours to American tourists all the way from the Arboretum to the Ottawa River 4 to 6 times a year. So I'm very sensitive to the importance of the canal and its environment to Ottawa. And I would comment that I think it's important that the city adds to the 30-meter zone inclusion of consideration of the abutting properties just outside the 30 meters, because that's obviously very important too. We've had a number of controversial heritage issues in the past, in Old Ottawa South, for example, with the development at Southminster Church, but it is important to consider those properties. And the one reservation that Heritage Ottawa and I have is that Lansdowne Park was not included in the study area. At that part of the corridor, it's been kept quite narrow and limited to the driveway. We do think that the city should consider the recommendations in the report to look at other potential HCDs along the corridor. Even though, for example, in the Glebe, there are a couple of existing HCDs, smaller ones that are not far from the corridor. So I think that's important. So again, just from Heritage Ottawa's perspective, congratulations to the NCC, the city, and parks on all the work that's gone into this report, and looking forward to see it really guarantee the future of the canal corridor as such an essential part. And if I can just make an advertisement, on August 1st and 3rd, I'm giving yet another walking tour focused on Colonel By, which will cover most of the Entrance Valley and Plaza sectors of this study. And that's a Heritage Ottawa tour.
Thank you so much for your comments and for the advertisement. It was well received. Are there any questions for Mr. James? Seeing none, thank you so much for your delegation on this item. Questions and comments? Councillor Leeper.
Thanks. This is a wonderful document. I know it's going to be extremely useful. I guess I have 2 questions. The first of which is, what is the time frame? I'm thinking about Echo Drive and developments that are coming along Echo Drive. Will this document be, I don't want to say in force because it doesn't force anything, but when will it become our official document?
This report is expected to go to council in August. So after the council, presuming that council approves it, it would be in August.
Okay. And then my second question, I'm just wondering, were there areas in which the city or NCC disagreed? Any color?
Air our dirty laundry publicly? No, I'm kidding. Not on heritage things, I don't think. That's we generally get along. I can't think of anything.
Yeah, I can't think of too many things either. And, yeah, it is just to say though, by the way, it is such a pleasure working with, with our colleagues at the city. You've heard in the other delegations, everybody keeps saying what a pleasure it is to work with this team, but it really has been a pleasure working with them and with Parks Canada as well. So, I mean, I don't think there were any serious, and in a way, I think one of the things that's been really valuable, there's always, with these types of reports, it's the final product people see. But I think a lot of the process that led into it was really valuable in terms of building our shared understanding of the different interests between the city, the NCC, and Parks Canada, whether it's about terminology, whether it's about just understanding of the history. I think we all learned a lot, and that's been very valuable for within our organizations, building our own capacity to understand the different perspectives and the different aspects of different jurisdictions.
Yeah, and I think also building other relationships, like even over the course of the study, like, Heather and I have known each other for many years and have worked together for many years, but I find that we phone each other more frequently now. Like, oh, this has come up. Do you know about this? Or, that sort of thing. So just like a bit more even of the informal collaboration that perhaps wasn't happening as frequently before we had spent many, 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 many hours together.
If I may as well, I think it's been off. We don't always have the opportunity to do these types of studies where there's not a project, right? When there's a project and then it's controversial, right? Everyone's like, oh, well, I think this and I think that about the project. This is more, and that's where the love letters to the canal come in. People could give us advice about how we could do a better job maintaining something on the canal or adding more trees or doing this, but they were also just saying what they really cared about, what they valued. And we heard that from Heritage Ottawa. We heard that from the Centertown Community Association and other groups. And it was really wonderful to have a chance to engage with the community as well in a context where it's not about a project and people getting, focused on the pros and cons of a particular project.
Okay, so a consensus document, and neither party has had to sort of hold their nose and move forward with this despite not being able to resolve any particular issue. Wonderful to hear. Yeah, I'm looking forward to the use that both make of this document moving forward. Thank you so much. Thanks, Chair.
Thank you, Councillor Leeper. Member Quinn.
Thank you, Chair. First of all, I want to congratulate you both, Heather and Leslie, and Parks Canada for coming together and creating this incredibly collaborative document. And I have a couple of questions. First of all, will the NCC board need to also endorse this report like City Council? That's the first question. And the other question was whether or not there's going to be a formalized process put in place for when the projects, which undoubtedly will be coming down the pipe, will be before all of you. Is there some kind of, are you anticipating formalizing a process of communication between the three entities?
Sure. Just in terms of the NCC, so this report has been presented to our our executive leadership committee, and it's been supported. It's not clear that it's going to the board of directors. It's more of a staff level tool, but at the moment, that's the way it's been proposed going forward internally.
Thank you. Yeah.
And I think to the second question, there are already some formal directions. So for instance, when we receive a planning application adjacent to the canal, we already have a process whereby we circulate Parks Canada, et cetera. And the same thing if it involves NCC property. So there won't be a sort of formal documented process whereby we'll all sit down together, that sort of thing. But we already do circulate these documents amongst ourselves and work together where there are shared interests. So I think we will just continue that work, and it'll be enhanced by the extra detail and understanding that we have, and hopefully lead to, I mean, I would say that sometimes there have been misunderstandings over the years, and one of the hopes here is that we now have more of a shared understanding of the place, and that will help streamline things going forward.
Okay, thank you very much.
Thank you so much for those comments. Are there any other questions? Member Borns.
We heard during the Golden Triangle discussion that the properties adjacent to the canal would be subject to a rezoning or a zoning study, I guess. What's the intent of that rezoning?
Through you, Mr. Chair, the proposed zoning recommendation that, or I guess it's not proposed, the approved recommendation related to the zoning study that was included in that item was related to simply around front and rear yards. Right now, because of the irregular shape of the lots, some of the properties have strange definitions of front and rear yards. So it's not intended to really do anything except better reflect that, you know, we want new buildings. If there are new buildings in that section, we want them to be oriented to the canal. And, you know, with the current definitions of the front and rear yards in those properties and the required performance standards, that may not be possible. So we're just going to have a closer look at it with our colleagues, but it's a very minor zoning piece that would need to be adjusted in that section.
Member Madigan.
Thank you, Chair. Two questions. First one, my understanding is that with the UNESCO designation, there's an obligation to actually manage and protect the adjoining area. I guess this report helps to do that, because otherwise, if you changed too many things, I understand you could lose your designation.
We can't speak on behalf of Parks Canada, so I think probably Susan would have been better placed to speak to that. But I think what I think it will help with is what we understand is that Parks reports to UNESCO on the state of the state of conservation of the World Heritage Site, including the visual setting. And so this is something that this is a project that UNESCO is aware that that Parks is engaging with us all on, and it's something that they can report.
Thank you. Second question, near the start of the canal, there's a feature called Lover's Walk. Was that captured as part of this?
Sorry, could you repeat that?
At adjoining the sort of the start of the canal, on sort of the escarpment of Parliament Hill, there's a feature called Lover's Walk, which was a historic sort of aspect of the Ottawa character. Was that captured as part of this study report?
So that not specifically. Parliament Hill, there was a lot of discussion about Parliament Hill actually as part of the study because of, you know, all of the values associated with Parliament Hill, and that there's actually quite a lot of robust documentation by Public Services Procurement Canada, who manages Parliament Hill, and the NCC. So the focus for the study and as it related to that area was very much just connected with more of the history connected to the canal, but there was not a lot of detailed analysis of Parliament Hill itself because of the extensive documentation that already exists separate from and the sort of separate governance model that exists for that. So the focus was more on some of the areas that haven't been as well documented, but Lover's Walk is certainly part of that context of Parliament Hill more generally.
Yeah, I perceive it as part of like also the canal, because I think historically, where the canal or gate is that leads up into Parliament Hill, they used to have that connection directly to Lover's Walk. And then also just down the stairs to the canal. So, okay, well, thank you.
Thank you so much for all those questions and comments. And I also wanted to thank Heritage Planning Branch, our partners at the NCC and Parks Canada, and most importantly, the more than 2,900 residents and stakeholders who took time to tell us what this stretch of canal means to them. The report is well researched, well consulted. We heard about the 335 pop-up kiosks, as well as the thousands of survey participants, and appropriately scoped piece of heritage planning work. It gives the city, the NCC, and Parks Canada a genuinely shared understanding of a landscape that they jointly steward, grounded in substantial public and Indigenous engagement, rather than staff judgment alone. And we do welcome that. And obviously, the residents welcome that in terms of the amount of participation that we saw in terms of this project. The two recommendations before the committee are modest in immediate regulatory effect. From my own analysis, we're really receiving a study and adopting a set of significant statements as an evaluative reference, while laying essential groundwork for more consequential decisions that can be taken by this municipal council in the context of heritage conservation district designation. So I'm really pleased that this is before us. I also, on a side, wanted to note that I had the pleasure of attending the Rideau Corridor Landscape Strategy Steering Committee meeting on June 19th, recently in Smith Falls on behalf of Councillor Brockington. And I want to commend Parks Canada and all their partners, which include which I discovered and thought was astounding, 13 bordering municipalities who are working together towards their commitment to preserving and conserving cultural heritage, maintaining the UNESCO World Heritage designation, as you referred to, Member Madigan, and maintaining the natural environment, and also working to celebrate the upcoming 200th anniversary of the canal in 2032. So I was really impressed having that first encounter with the steering committee as to the breadth and the depth of its work, as well as the number of people who are around the table contributing to that work. So really want to acknowledge that, and also thank all partners who are involved in the authoring and the creation of this report. If there are no questions, is this item received?
Received.
Thank you so much. So this item is carried, and this report will be submitted to council on August 26, 2026. There are no in-camera items. Are there any notices of motions? Seeing none, are there any inquiries? Seeing none, is there any other business? I do have a motion before the committee that I would like to introduce, and would it be the will of the committee to introduce this motion that will consider the stewardship of the Canadian Register of Historic Places? There are none, my colleagues. So we are interested in advancing this motion due to timelines. And I don't know if the committee coordinator could just produce that for the committee's consideration, and I will read it into the record. Whereas the Built Heritage Committee is not anticipated to have a further meeting until at least September 2026, be it resolved that the following item be added to the agenda of the meeting of June 14th, 2026, pursuant to the procedure of bylaw subsection 89.3, whereas the Canadian Register of Historic Places is a nationally significant heritage resource that provides public access to information on more than 13,500 recognized historic places across Canada, whereas the Government of Canada has indicated it will no longer operate the current CRHP program, placing the future of the Register at risk, whereas the National Trust for Canada is a national charitable organization dedicated to the conservation and stewardship of Canada's historic places, and is well positioned to assume responsibility for the continued operation and enhancement of the Canadian Register of Historic Places, whereas the National Trust for Canada has proposed to assume stewardship of the CRHP to ensure its continued preservation, modernization, and public accessibility. Therefore, be it resolved that the committee recommend that council endorse the continued preservation and public accessibility of the Canadian Registry of Historic Places as a bilingual pan-Canadian register of recognized historic places. Be it further resolved that the committee recommend that council support the National Trust for Canada's proposal to assume stewardship of the Canadian Register of Historic Places. Be it further resolved that the committee recommend that council authorize the chair of the Built Heritage Committee to provide a letter on behalf of council to the Minister of Environment and Climate Change Canada, expressing support for the National Trust for Canada's proposal to assume stewardship of the Canadian Register of Historic Places. And be it further resolved that Built Heritage Committee submit this motion for council consideration at its meeting of July 15th, 2026, so that the letter of support may be provided before the end of June. I believe the item is self-explanatory. The National Trust of Canada had approached myself and staff to ask for the specific letter of support to ensure the continuity of this important resource for all Canadians. Are there any questions? Seeing none, is the item carried?
Carried.
Carried. Thank you so much. On adjournment, we're adjourned. The next meeting of the Built Heritage Committee may be held on Tuesday, September 8th, 2026. So stay tuned and have a wonderful rest of your summer. Thank you, everybody.